Okay, I will talk about a refreshing and very light topic. So I will not go very deep into the deep neural networks because I'm a biologist and I'm just an end user. But I'm happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation to talk about a little bit the animal sounds and how we can use the deep neural networks in our biological oriented work. Okay, so the main biological questions in bioacoustics, we have four usually. One of them is that in the topic of the bioacoustics is that how the animals producing the sounds, especially the sound, it is really good model. For example, birdsong is really good model for the mechanism, especially in neurological studies. The second topic is that what the animals use it for. So what is the function of the animal communication signals? The third one is that how it is developed through the ontogeny, how the song, for example, how the bird song is developing during why the animal is growing and developing. And the fourth big topic is usually it is how the animal communication signals are developed through the evolution. So it's a large scale. These were the theoretical basic questions, but we are super interested in the applied, such applied questions like we know that species has different communication signals. Do you want to hear some fishes? I brought some sounds. For example, I don't know that how familiar is it that fishes makes sounds. For example, hear it? So it was this is the rock hind. And let's hear another fish. So it is just, recently it is known that a lot of fish species make sounds and they generate species-specific sounds. And it means that if you put hydrophones into the water, then you can pick up a lot of species-specific sounds. And then in this way you can monitor only one species, or you can tell something about the whole community, that what species are in that field. It is also true for bats, for birds, for a lot of animals that is communicating, that they have species-specific communication signals that we can use for example, to make assessment of the biodiversity. Okay. The other applied trend is, or topic is that when we study the animals in the laboratory, for example, in pharmaceutical research, it is very important to follow the animals' internal state through the bioacoustic signals. For example, a lot of pharmaceutical research is aiming, for example, to develop such drugs that is decreasing the stress level. Okay, and for example, there is a very typical test that they take away the pups from the mom, for example, for rats and mice, and then the pups, the little animals, is making these separation cones that you can see, for example, here. And if the drug is working, then they produce, and their stress level is decreasing, then they produce less and less such communication signals, such stress signals. So that's how the researchers can somehow have some impression about the stress level of the animal. So for this, it is very important to somehow quantify the number of the signals. Okay, so in summary, we have two main topics where the deep learning can be used, because both in applied research, both in basic research, nowadays we can record tons of data. It's very easy to record the data, the acoustic signals, but it can be really challenging to process all of these. So, and one of the topic is to somehow detect the signals in the recordings, and we have such systems already, for example, such deep learning tool that can recognize the bat calls from the noisy recordings. I also use it, and it works pretty well. The other one is that when we have to, after the detection, we have to identify the signals, and we have to somehow classify it into specific individuals or species, and they already develop such systems for example, for birds. And the common features of the solutions that all of these works with deep convolutional networks. So I got some ideas from these studies, and I used convolutional networks in my topic. What is my topic? So I studied collared flycatcher. It is a Middle European little bird species. It's quite common in the European forests. It's very little, 14 grams. And we work with this bird in the Pilis Mountains, just 30 kilometers from here. We put out around 800 artificial nest boxes, and this species is really willing to take these artificial nest boxes, and it's very easy to work with them because we can open this nest box, we can follow them up, we can see that when they laying the eggs, how many chicks they have, when the chicks are flying out. And of course, the male flycatchers, they're producing sounds that we are interested in. Okay, how the sound of the collared flycatcher sounds and looks. You will hear 3 songs from this species. One. Second. And the third. I didn't tell you what this graph is, but it's a spectrogram. Of course, it's on the x-axis it is the time, on the y-axis it is the frequency. And so they were the songs that you could hear. And in one song, you can discover little elements. They call it syllables, all these. And of course, you could, when you were listening to this recording, you could just tell something very vague impression that how it looks like. But actually, if we make a spectrogram, and then you can already see that this song that you could hear, it contains many different syllable types. And to hear the difference, I will play it back in a slowed down way. No, I didn't manage. What did I do? No, I wanted. Okay, so this was the real time, and in slowed down. You can hear that there are similar and different elements. Again, this one. And when you can hear it, when you listen it in normal speed, you cannot tell the difference between the syllable types. Okay. So we really need this graphical representation to work with these sounds. And as you could already see, there are, so these are the syllables, and there are similar syllables that we can mark with the same letters, and there are different ones. And if after you counting it up, that how many syllable types they have, we call it repertoire size, that can be a very individual feature of that bird. Okay, so what we know about the flycatcher song? So we know that they try, when they are singing in their territory, close to these artificial nest boxes, they try to chase away the males, and that their songs is functioning as to somehow threatening signal, but also the females can find the males according to the song or based on the song, and hopefully they will fall in love. Okay, and in our research group, we studied these animals for many years, and for example, we managed to show that the content of the songs, so what kind of syllable types the male is using, it can influence their pairing speed, so how easily, how fast they can find a female. Also, we show that how the individual information like the condition of the bird or the age of the male is encoded into the song. And also, our recent paper is about that it seems that it is possible, I would say that it is possible that the characteristics of the immune system can be encoded into the song of the males, and that can be somehow taken by the females. Okay, so we know a lot of things, but we had to do a lot of manual work. So to make it easier, I made a little MATLAB program, a toolbox, and we can cut first. In the first step, we cut the songs from the recordings. Second step, we try to segment the individual syllables. The third one, we try to cluster also manually, first within individually, then between individually, the syllable types. That's how we can tell at the very end that each syllable type belongs to what ID. Okay, so it is really time-consuming and challenging job, and what I'm aiming here is that to somehow make the cutting and the segmenting phase automatically. Okay, so this is the aim. Okay, so I tried out different things, and I looked in the literature, and I found a model that is quite good in image detection, and it's called YOLO. I don't know that how many of you know this. There are some papers about that describing why and how it is better than the other recent image detection systems. I don't go very into the details, but it's a convolutional network with many convolutional layers. It is freeware, it is written in C and Python, and it supports the GPU running, so I chose this one. And so how I use this, from the sound files I made spectrograms, and then I feed it into this YOLO. The spectrograms, they are pictures, and I feed it into this YOLO model, and I built two different types of models. One is for the songs, to detecting the songs in the recordings, and the other one is detecting the syllables within the songs. Okay, to make it more robust and to make it just to somehow detect our own species, I used other species songs, many such bird species that is very common in that area where we work with our birds. Okay, so altogether, I used, in the song database, for the song detection, I used more than 6,000 songs. For the syllable database, I used more than 40,000 syllable types. And I tried to take the samples from many different years, from many populations, from many different weather conditions to make it usable more general, or as general as it's possible. Okay, and thanks to the Wigner lab, I could use their GPU, and I traced the model by its loss function and this intersection of union, where you can see that over 0.7, it is already very good detection. Okay, so what are the results? For the song detection, you can see that the loss function is decreasing very fastly and reaching very low level, and the intersection of union is reaching quite high value. Compared to the syllable detection was not as good. It is still quite high, the 0.29 loss number, but it seems that the intersection of union is reaching in average quite a good value. However, you see that sometimes it's just 0.6, so it could work even better. So if you have any idea how I can make it better, I'm very happy to have your thoughts. Okay, and so just to show some examples, this picture is really showing that it is a flycatcher song that you already know, and it's very interesting to see that it is also flycatcher sounds, but they are just alarm calls, and we managed to show, or we managed to teach the model in a way that only the songs are detected and the alarm calls not, because they have different functions. We don't want to include it in our data. And also it was seen that even if the quality is quite poor, it can find very nicely the songs. And actually we found quite a similar results for the syllables, and it's really nicely it can find the syllables also in our recordings. So I also tried out this model on new data, and usually it's around 100 individuals data that I tried out. Usually it takes around 100 hours of manual segmentation, but now with using this model, I needed only just to spend 10 hours just for checking and little bit modifying some of the syllables boundaries. Okay, and for the future, actually, we have quite ambitious plans. We have, in our database, we have already more than 800 recordings, and we are interested in that from the last 20 years, and we are interested in how the birdsong is changing in these last 20 years. And why it is interesting, because the birdsong, actually this species song, is learned. So it's socially learned. They are learning from their neighbors. And it means that the population is somehow accumulating a little knowledge, a little culture. So that's why we call it, actually the birdsong is actually, it's a culture that is similar to the human culture, actually, but we know very little about the animal cultures. And also we sampled many different populations, so we can study not only just the changes in time, but also in space. And hopefully we will, based on this animal song model, we will know more about the animal cultures. That is really important nowadays when we change our environment very quickly. The genetic transmissions is very, the genetic changing, the accommodation to the environment through the genetic way, it is very slow. So, but maybe you know that the ravens, crows, and actually all the others, but they are just around in the university. You see that a lot of times that they are finding newer and newer techniques how to find food. For example, they are just picking out the food from the trash bin, and they are just dropping the nuts from the high. So they can easily, for example, a lot of species easily can somehow accommodate to the human neighborhood environment, but actually it is also true for all the animals that is able to learn from each other. So it is very important to know that, that how the animal cultures are working. Okay, thanks for all my colleagues, for the Vignal lab, for the possibility for their GPU, and thanks for your attention.
Questions to this really interesting topic? Okay, then I have a few interesting questions. You get it.
So once you have a kind of dictionary, can you make an artificial song and to test on real animals?
Mm-hmm. Actually, we do that. Actually, so what is we are making new songs that is constituting such syllable types that is not common in our area. So we are interested in that how their learning is happening. So, for example, we can include artificial syllables and also syllables from Italy, from Poland, from any other places. And last year we managed to show that they are actually these animals learning in our breeding area because they picked up an Italian syllable type that in our whole population didn't know in the last 20 years. So that's how we can somehow study their learning capabilities and learning mechanisms. Yeah.
Further questions? Then I have a few ones. So some species can learn other species sounds. Mm-hmm. Can you distinguish them? Or they can even learn car alarms or door sounds. Can you distinguish the bird's imitation from the original source?
Sometimes they are very clever, sometimes you cannot, but usually how they are using, what is species specific is that how they are using their learned little elements. So there are species that repeating everything 3 times, 4 times. And that's how you know that it's a mockingbird or it's a song thrush. So you can, of course, and if you listen a little bit one more song, you will hear that, oh, it's another species again, and another species again, another. And that's how you know, that, okay, so it's not 4 different species, but it's just it's just a bird species that is very good in this, actually.
Thank you very much for this interesting talk.